Welcome back to another video. My name is Kyle, and I suck at budgeting. We've got some cleanup to do in YNAB. We've had some things happen, and there's going to be a story. So we're going to do story time. We're going to do some YNAB stuff, and then we're going to get ready for the month of December, which is not really going to happen in this video, but that'll be the next video. So this is going to be a little bit of a cleanup and more of a how I use my emergency fund in YNAB. So if that's something that you're looking to learn how to do, this might be a good video for you. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell a story. If you're not interested in the story, I will put a timestamp or a little thingy here and a link maybe somewhere where you can go directly to the YNAB portion. So what we're going to do there is I'm going to show you how I use my emergency fund, why I do it the way, not really why I do it the way I do it, but talk about how I do it and how I have to make things move to make the emergency fund work, and clean up what's happened over the last 2 weeks. So that is what we're going to talk about today. So it is time for story time. We all love story time. You'll probably notice that I am without dogs at the moment, and that is part of the story. So about 2 weeks ago, my dog Sky, who is my red fawn greyhound, we went outside on Monday night. It'll be 2 weeks this coming Monday, so do the math. That's what, 12 days, 10 days, something like that. She decided that she is not going up steps anymore. And I was like, all right, well, that's cool. So she's got some eye issues, and I've been noticing that she's been stumbling up the steps, and it's a little bit weird because she's not one of those dogs that takes one step at a time. She likes to kind of like jump up the steps, and kind of like a little head start. And what I've been noticing is that as she jumps, she jumps actually too high, and then her legs just don't get underneath herself again. So she trips and falls, and she had a couple little slips the last couple weeks, and she just stopped trusting herself on the steps. So I said, all right, cool, no problem. We usually, when that happens, it happens every once in a while. We usually go around the side, through the garage, and then in the house that way, and then take the steps up that way. Because they're carpeted, they're well lit. It's a little bit easier. They're only half the length of the steps in the outside. So she wouldn't go up those steps either. I was like, all right, cool. Well, let's go upstairs and let's get a treat and let's figure this out. Some of you know that I have fostered greyhounds in the past. I have done 40 in the span of 2 years. This was years ago in my other house when I was working from home. And I was the guy that taught steps. I was the guy that dealt with all the difficult issues. Because my 3 dogs are very well balanced, I just let them teach everything. So my 2 other dogs, Lewis and Gemma, they were trying to figure out what was going on and trying to help. And I got up the steps to get a treat, and I realized there was blood all over the floor. So my other greyhound, Gemma, she has a disease called slow, which causes, one of the side effects causes brittleness in her nails. So while she was outside running around like a goofball, she broke a nail, came inside, bled everywhere. Trying to figure out what's wrong with Sky, she's running around the house. So now I've got blood everywhere and a dog who won't go up the steps. So fast forward a little bit, we got everyone taken care of, Gemma's nails, Sky up the steps, perfect. That night, Monday night, I had to go to the bathroom at 4:00 in the morning, and dogs decided they wanted to go out too. So we went out, and Sky wouldn't come up again. And I was like, it's 4:30 in the morning. I kind of prepared for this, if just in case it didn't happen that she wanted to go up the steps. I cleaned the basement so that there was spots for them to lay, and it's like, you know what? We're just going to stay in the basement, and we have been there ever since. So my studio office area is on the 2nd floor, and then there's the regular level. I have a bi-level or split level, whatever they call it. And so they're downstairs, and we've been down there since this has all taken place. So I did take her to the vet last week, and they said basically she looks fine. There's a little bit of stiffness in her legs, but there is nothing physically preventing her from going up the steps. So they gave her a shot for arthritis, and then they looked at her mouth and said, She needs a dental really badly, and we can get you in on Tuesday. Okie doke. So we did the dental on Tuesday. It went really well, except she had 20 teeth removed. I didn't even know greyhounds had that many teeth. Apparently, they have 42, which I learned. So 20 teeth extractions later, a dental, and then she had a growth on the back of her left leg, so that was removed as well. Luckily, my vet is a greyhound vet. She specializes in greyhounds, and she knows that teeth are a problem with greyhounds. So while the dental's a little bit on the expensive side compared to other places, it's not that bad actually. She's actually pretty, good. But a lot of places she was telling me charge $200 a tooth. My vet only charges 20 because she knows as greyhounds get older, this is something that happens quite frequently. The procedure only took less than an hour. I dropped her off at 8:00. They called me at 9 to let me know that everything went well and how many teeth they removed, and so it was, so it was good. Everything's good. She's doing well. We haven't tried the steps mostly because of the growth on her leg that was removed. She does have stitches. But yeah, I mean, as far as we go, I mean, everything's fine. Gemma's doing fine with her nail, and Sky's doing great with her recovery. So things are still good, but we had to dip into the emergency fund. So that's where we're going to go. And I have not done anything with this in terms of I've moved the money physically in my bank, but I have not done the changes to reflect that in YNAB. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how I do my emergency fund in YNAB, and then we'll actually go through and work through the transactions, hopefully figure things out and make sure that everything jives. So here we go. Let's go into YNAB. And for those that skipped the story, welcome back. And we're jumping into YNAB. So I'm going to show something that I don't normally show, mostly because I don't block out my email, but I will block it out for this. I don't really care if you see my numbers. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm showing you basically everything anyway, so make sure everything's on the screen. It is good. Okay. So we have one overspent category, which is the dog vet. So before we get there, you'll know that I had at one point this dog vet thing. I had about $250. I used the majority of that for the vet visit last week, which came out to $270 something. They actually overcharged me, and it was actually $240. So I actually had enough in the account to cover it. They overcharged me and took it off of the bill. So this is the bill, I believe, the full bill for the dental. So we're going to go through and talk about how all of this emergency fund works. So if you skip the story, this is all about my emergency fund, how my emergency fund works, and how I do it in YNAB. So hopefully I know it well enough that I can show you how I do it and not make anything worse. So if you look on the left-hand side, we have three accounts here. There are 2 bonus checking accounts and 1 emergency fund. So these are all with one bank. And then the emergency fund is at that same bank. I have 2 checking accounts because I live in Ohio. My bank is a New York bank. When I lived in New York, it was specific to them, and I liked them so much when I moved out here, I didn't want to close the account. But the problem is when you have 700 miles in between you and your bank, when your debit card gets compromised, you have to live for 7 days until they can ship you a new one. I couldn't just run to the branch and pick up a new one because it's 700 miles away. So what I did was I opened up a second checking account. That's why there are 2 checking accounts here. They're at the same bank. Just in case one card gets compromised, I've got another card that I can use until the main one comes back. So that's how that works. And then we have our emergency fund. The emergency fund is in a money market account. It is not a high yield savings account. I could be doing better. I'm going to start looking into that so I can do a little bit better on it. But for right now, it's in that same bank with, a little bit of interest. You got my loans here, my Jeep, my house, and then my retirement here. So you'll notice that my emergency fund is here under the budget section. So you'll hear people talk about in YNAB being on budget versus off budget. So basically to keep it as simple as I possibly can, Budget means it's in this area. Okay. When it's in this area, we need to work inside of the categories here to make sure things balance. So what we need to see is we need to see that this this backup debit right here needs to equal this amount of money, which it currently doesn't. And I know exactly why, and it's okay. And for the same token, the emergency fund right here, this number right here needs to match this number, and it doesn't. And again, I know why. That's what this video is about, how to shore all this up. So what I had done was I didn't really know exactly how much this was going to cost me. So I moved physically at my bank $2,000 into this bonus checking account here. I then used that bonus checking account to pay the bill. And then today, about 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, whatever, I took the money that was left over from the $2,000, moved it back into the emergency fund. So we're going to see some transactions and then other transactions that we're going to kind of make up, and they'll link once the bank does its little import of transactions. So that's where we're at for right now. So you'll see that I have a whole bunch of transactions that I have not done. So we're going to go right to the emergency fund. So you'll see in the emergency fund what I've done. I have this transfer to bonus checking. So what this is, this was me moving that money from the emergency fund into my checking account. Okay. So if I go to view here, that's what this transaction is. It's fine. It is a transfer. Make sure that when you're doing this in budget, that you do a transfer. You do not want to create a transaction and have a payee. That will not work. You need to do a transfer. What I'll also do, I'll put it in the description down below. Nick True does a fantastic video about 3 ways to do emergency funds, whether they're on budget or off budget. His video is far better than a video that I will ever be able to make. So I'm just going to link it in the description below. But so this is okay. So we're going to mark this and we're going to approve this transaction. So we're done for here. So now what we need to do is we need to go to the bonus checking over here. And here's that, let's go here to the view here. So here is that, that incoming number of $2,000, that incoming transfer from the other account. So the reason you do a transfer is because it creates those two transfer accounts in each of your accounts, and it links them. So yes, that's why there's this little like linky thing here. All right, so this is good. This is done. We're good. So we're going to approve this transaction, and now we're good, kind of. So we still have this right here, okay? This was the actual vet visit. But before we get there, what I want to do is I want to go to my budget. So hang on a second. Yes, right? Yes, okay. All right, so now you'll see that I've got, brain malfunctioning. So what I've done is I've taken $2,000 from here and I've put it into this account over here. But what you're going to see here is I have not actually done that here. So these changes do not reflect what we just did. So even though those transactions are there, we now have to move this money from here to here. Do I really have to move it from there to there? I don't really have to, but for the purposes of the demonstration, just so you can see what the flow is like, right? So I need to move $2,000 to backup debit. Okay. Now we're good there. Okay. So essentially what I've done is I've moved that $2,000 here. Now, for argument's sake, what I'm going to do, because this is now money that I am ready to assign, I'm going to take that $2,000 that I just moved. Obviously, you don't have to do all these steps. This is just for illustration purposes. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to move that $2,000 to ready to assign. Okay. Now I've got $2,000 in ready to assign. Okay. That's the next step. Could I have just put it in ready to assign? Yes. Did I have to put it in ready to assign? No. I could have just put it where I'm going to put it next, which is move it to the dog vet. Because now I've got this overspent category of $1,485.81. So I'm going to take this and we're going to cover this spending with ready to assign. Okay. Now I've got $514.19 that is left over. Okay. What I mentioned before is I took that leftover money, that $514.19. I took that and I moved it from my backup debit account to my emergency fund. Now, there is no transaction yet because I just did it, and it takes a little while for those transactions to go through, and that's fine. So if I go back over here, you'll see that I have this outflow here from there, and this is fine now. So if I go here, I will approve this transaction. If we go back to the budget, everything looks good. Our overspent category is gone, and now things are starting to look better. Here's the unfortunate thing about what I'm showing you, and I'll show this up in the next video just so you can see. Right now, my bank account does not match this number, the $633.92, because I've taken this $514.19 and moved it back to the emergency fund. So it doesn't match right now, but it will. So that's the next thing that we're going to do is, because I just did this, I'm going to actually create a transaction inside of the bonus checking account to move that $514.19 back to my emergency fund. Now, I'm a dope and I don't math well. So as I was going through and figuring this out, I did a transfer that was wrong. So what I did was a transfer for $544.19. Okay, my payee is going to be transferred to emergency fund. Remember, when you're moving stuff in between budgets, you want to make sure you do a transfer to. You do not want to do an actual transaction with the payee. You must do a transfer. Okay, that's super, super important. Okay, so transfer to emergency fund, and we're going to save that. Okay, now what should happen is if I go over to here, we should see view all transactions. We should see that I just created this, okay, in the other account. So that's, it left my bonus checking account and it moved to my emergency fund. So here is $544.19 going out, and then my emergency fund, $544.19 coming in. Perfect. Now, unfortunately, I meant to transfer $514, not $544. So I created a second transaction for $30 to move it because I want to have $119.73. Why? Because when I created YNAB, there was $119.73 in that account, and I want to keep it that way. So if you look at my bonus checking, it says $89.73, and that's wrong because I transferred another $30 from my emergency fund back to the bonus checking. This is a little bit kind of weird, but this is how I do it, and I'm sorry that I screwed it up. So again, this is a transfer. So we want to transfer to bonus checking, and this is going to be an outflow for $30. Save. So there's my outflow of $30. If I go to my bonus checking, this will now show, where is it? There it is, a $30 transaction. And in the next couple days, you'll see that it hasn't cleared yet because there's no matching transaction. It actually is. It will clear. It's no problem. It's already done. I've seen it on my bank account. Done. So we're good there. So now my bonus checking is $119.73, and my emergency fund is $1,743.04, which matches. That is perfect. We have done everything that we need to do to get ourselves back to normal. Okay. So we're good there. I will show you in the next video, once things clear, that this number matches. Now, the important thing is if I go back to my budget, what I want to see is I want to see my bonus checking, which has a category group here, right here called backup debit, 119.73, 119.73. That's the important thing. That's what needs to match. Okay. Now I have this over here, this $1,743.04. It does not match. Oh no, what are we going to do? Well, look up here. We've got this ready to assign. This needs to go to the emergency fund. When I assign this to the emergency fund, I can just type in emergency fund. Why am I looking? And hit assign. This should now match that, and it does. We are perfect. Okay, so the good news is I didn't suck at budgeting enough to screw this up. So that's fantastic. We're in really good shape. We're in really good shape. Now, I'm going to go through and if I go to reconcile, it's probably not going to. Oh, it does. Look at that. Even better. Reconcile. It looks good. Now, there is an unclear balance because it hasn't downloaded that transaction. So I'm going to reconcile it right now. And we're going to go here. We're going to reconcile this. And then looks good for now. Once this clears, we're going to reconcile again, make sure everything looks good still. But for right now, everything should be perfect because all those numbers matched up. Hope that makes sense. We've got a little bit more work to do. You'll see that there's a little dot here for my bonus checking account. We've got 3 new transactions. Let's go through them. All right. So Raising Cane's is eating out fine. 3 Amigos. I had some good Mexican food last night. Nachos. I was in the mood for nachos. Had some nachos last night. So good. So good. All right. So we can approve that. Raising Cane's we can approve. And approve. All right. We've got one more transaction to go. And that is an inflow of $400. All right. Another quick story. This is a short one. My friend called me and said, hey, my daughter's graduating from college. Would you be available to take some pictures of her? I said, absolutely, no problem. So last weekend we went out, we took some pictures and I edited them, set them out. And she said, hey, what do I owe you for this? And I said, nothing. I have known your daughter since literally she was born. I am happy to do this for you. I do not want any money. And 5 minutes later, I found $400 in my checking account. And I yelled at her and said, why did you do this? And she said, you just spent $1,500 on your dog. Put it towards that. Well, I don't know that we're going to do that. So a lot of you know that I am disillusioned with my job. And I'm looking for more income streams. And I think I'm going to reinvest this into some photography stuff. I've mentioned before, I'm looking to get back into photography, and I'd like to start investing in some other equipment. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this. Again, I can move this to ready to assign, just like we did before. But I'm going to be fancy. I'm going to put this right into photography and approve it. So now if I go back to my budget, and scroll down to the photography, you'll see that there's that $400 that I just put in. So, wow, that was a video and a half. Lots of stuff. I know I talked fast. I'm sorry. I hope it made sense. Everything looks good. You'll see I had to pull a whole bunch out so far from the eating out budget. We're pretty close to the end. I'm probably going to be okay with that, not refilling it. So yeah, that's where we're at. Despite all of the extra money, we've made it through, which is a testament to having an emergency fund. So if you don't have an emergency fund, have one. Looking back retrospectively, would it have been awesome if I had that $2,000 sitting in the dog vet, area? Yeah, it would have been awesome. But I'm not there yet. And this is something that you need to understand as you go through this. It's something that I have a hard time understanding, that this is a journey, right? And just because you're not where you want to be doesn't mean you can't make things work. And I had an emergency fund, and I didn't really stipulate what that money was for. But as far as I was concerned, this was an emergency, and I did it. What you have to understand about your emergency fund is your emergency fund is not, the shoes over at, Target are on sale today. That's not an emergency, right? So you need to kind of come up with those like guardrails of what is a true emergency and what isn't a true emergency. So this to me was an emergency, and it needed to get done, and health was involved, and that's one of the things that to me constitutes an emergency. So that's what I did. As far as that $400 comes that came in for my friend, should I have put it in the photography budget? Probably not. Probably should put it back in the emergency fund, but um, I had not spent the money yet, and I might still move it to the emergency fund, honestly. So we'll see. I mean, it might just sit there and wait until who knows? We'll see. For right now, it's going to stay in the photography budget and then stay there, and we'll figure something out. Coming up next, we've got end of the month. We have end of the month coming in November, and getting ready for December. So that will be the next video that comes out, and I'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped a little bit. Again, I'll put Nick True's video in the description below, because it'll do a far better job of explaining the 3 different ways you can have an emergency fund. 2 of them are on budget, 1 of them is off budget. The way I do it's a little bit complicated, but for me, I needed I needed that separation of having the money out of my checking account somewhere else that I don't have easy access to. And this fills that bill. Could I do it the way he suggests that he does it now? I probably could, now that I'm more into YNAB and understand it more. But I feel better where it is now, and I do earn a little bit of interest. And hopefully we'll be earning some more interest soon. Maybe I'll be moving that over to a high yield account sometime soon, but we'll see. I mean, we'll figure it out. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time for the end of the month closeout. See ya.